Welcome back to the show, everyone. Craig and Jonah here. Um, so for those on YouTube, you won't see a video stream because I have our baby with me on my lap and she's much cuter than me, and I don't want you to get spoiled by that. So you're just going to have to listen to the audio portion of this. So Jonah stopped in. There was some things that happened recently, some podcast episodes that came out on other channels that we've been talking about that actually line up very closely to some of the topics that we've been gearing up to discuss on this podcast. And one is particular is a video that I'm going to play with you. And Jonah's reactions are just so much more fun when they're organic. So I'm going to cue this up. Go back just a little bit here. Whoops. And we're going to listen to this.
This one. Our priest told us that a woman is only allowed to orgasm during intercourse, meaning penis in vagina, or afterward if she didn't orgasm during penis in vagina and the husband helps her finish. I'm getting conflicting information and it's frustrating. I agree.
What difference does it make if it's before? I don't know why.
You and this gal agree.
Yeah. I agree with her sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, it's I just wonder where he's getting that from, the priest, in fairness,
Okay, well, let's go on.
All right.
Is it sinful for a woman to orgasm during foreplay if the husband arouses her with this intent? Or is it considered selfish and sinful since the goal is for the husband and wife to orgasm together?
I don't know if that's the goal.
Bonus points for sources I can show my husband. Okay.
Does that have to be the goal? I mean, it is kind of the goal, but it's not a written requirement, right?
No.
That is not in Humana Vitae or any
Well, depends who you ask.
Oh, okay.
I actually get into a conversation with her after the fact about, I think there are people that believe that it should only happen. Female orgasm, if it's going to happen, must only happen during sex, not immediately before.
I don't know that. I just don't know why.
First off, I have a question for your priest. What in the world would the difference be between orgasming prior to intercourse and orgasming after intercourse? They're both happening.
Other than the reproductive aspect where some say that it could propel the sperm or whatever, but I think that that's kind of debunked. But
God, you just read my mind.
That's the only real scenario. But I mean, if it's even a little bit helpful, does that make it totally necessary?
Well, I'll play through the rest of it and then I'll go through my comment in exchange with her.
Outside of intercourse, but within the context of one sexual act. That doesn't make any sense.
The one sexual act she's referring to within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think there's 20 minutes is never mentioned anywhere.
Well, she tries to explain where she got that at.
Oh, she does. Oh, boy, I'm getting ahead of her.
And I think sometimes this happens with people that are not fully formed in understanding what it is that the church teaches about female pleasure. And I think part of that is because the church has had a kind of a varied history on exactly what it understands.
No. No.
I mean, I think we looked it up the one time, and masturbation wasn't really forbidden until 1054. So I mean, that's
right.
1,000 years.
Yeah.
That being a misunderstanding. So that's a long time. I mean, and in this, there's obviously, I don't know. Yeah.
And about female arousal and female pleasure, but sometimes people don't really understand it. Just start doing kind of some weird theological gymnastics around the issue and try to say, oh, this is okay, this is not okay, this is okay, this is not okay.
There was an eye roll there. That's the problem. We got to get Jonah on camera because your eye roll. I know.
But yeah, just the theological gymnastics. There's a lot of gymnastics that goes on in all directions. When you're talking about whether it's 20 minutes, you have to have one act within 20 minutes, or you have to make sure that everything finishes in the exact right location. I mean,
feels like the pot telling the kettle here, but
yeah, we'll go with it.
Let me lay it out for you straight. And love and responsibility would be a phenomenal resource for this. It's a little heady, but this is where that info is coming from.
No, it's not. I've read Love and Responsibility. Isn't really in there.
Oh,
it's not even cryptically in there. Like, I don't know where. I'll let her continue.
Also, you're going to get it in Theology of the Body.
Sometimes people are just mistaken.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where to point you to.
I'd really like someone to do that. Would someone please do that?
Oh, when that's the answer. It's like,
yeah. It's just trust me, it's in there.
Oh, that's the worst answer. You know, just
trust us that it's in there.
Theology of the Body, but definitely more toward the middle section.
Yeah, that narrows it down a couple hundred pages.
It's not just page 69.
Yeah. Footnote 69.
Yeah. The section on the Song of Songs.
Okay, I'll have to look.
Song of Songs.
Well, she says where the Song of Songs is discussed in Theology of the Body, but
Song of Songs has a lot of sections in it, including sections about what could be portrayed as oral sex.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I mean, like Song of Songs, I didn't know was like gonna be used
it's John Paul II talking about Song of the Songs, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, resources, I'd have to like really dig in.
Maybe you could like this
it's that important.
This is important.
And find some specific resources, but this might be a really cool podcast episode to really dig into this.
Song of Songs is also written by Solomon, who had 800 wives. You know, I mean, in fairness,
take that for what it's worth.
But all right, let me tell it to you straight.
700 wives and 300.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah. I thought that same thing. I was wrong.
Fairness
I
to
forgot
the
the concubines.
Yeah.
The woman's orgasm needs to happen within the context of a full sexual act. The orgasm is meant for that. I actually talk about this in the orgasm course that I just put out. So that might also be a really good like kind of source if you wanted to purchase that and check out the section that talks about kind of the theology behind the orgasm. But sexual pleasure is meant for the sexual act. The woman's sexual pleasure organ is separate from any other organ. The clitoris is separate from any other organ.
We're on the same page.
That is not the case for the man's sexual pleasure organ. The penis is connected to the like procreative organ of his, whereas the clitoris in the woman is not connected to the procreative organ.
Seems like they're pretty close. They're like, I mean, you know, they're connected, right?
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I mean, they're
not like it's on their chest.
Yeah, they're on the opposite side of the body. I mean, speaking of like, you know, theological gymnastics.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you know, I haven't taken an anatomy class in a while, but I mean, I feel like it's proximal enough.
Yeah, like I guess so. If 19 minutes is close enough, how many millimeters is it close enough?
So the thing is that with the 20-minute rule, I thought that it took like 10 to 15 minutes for women to get kind of warmed up. You know, so you're cutting it awfully close. It's like an episode of 24 with Jack Bauer, you know, trying to get it done.
The bomb is ticking down. Yeah. We gotta cut the red wire, the blue wire. All right.
In her. And so that means like what kind of that tells us is that the man's orgasm has to happen within the exact context of the procreative aspect of the act. I'd
really like a footnote right here. Like just give me a footnote.
Other than just trust me.
Yeah.
You're like, where is that coming from?
I mean, it's I guess Aquinas, but
okay. Well, but then just because he says it, does that mean it is the law of the land? You know, like, and I don't know.
He was never Pope. It's not infallible, but it's treated that way.
Well, I mean, there aren't that many infallible teachings to begin with, and I doubt this would be one of them.
It turns out there aren't a lot of people that are anxious to call Thomas Aquinas wrong about anything.
And with all due respect, Thomas Aquinas, I mean, I don't, you know, do you think that I'm not even going to say it, but Well, I'm just not sure how you would really know, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he probably has less experience with this stuff than you and I do. And I'm certainly no expert on it.
Yeah, because he was never married, right?
Yeah.
Like
I got 9 kids to his 0, so
as far as anybody knows.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he certainly seems like someone that was very ignorant about all this stuff all work.
With all due respect to St. Thomas Aquinas, you know,
ill-informed. Is that
not fully formed? I guess
Yeah.
you're right. Because I mean, you think the married guy perspective would be just as important. I mean, I don't know.
You would like to think so, huh?
Yeah, I would.
Orgasm has to happen during intercourse. There is no other option for that because the procreative aspect of the act has to happen inside of the vagina. Like sperm cannot go anywhere else. They are only designed to go there. Otherwise, that is a selfish act because it is removing the procreative possibility from the act.
But the issue with that is nocturnal emissions. Like they happen naturally, and I mean, they're not. I mean, they just happen, you know. So I don't know, like why. That's the part of it that just, you know, I think about, because when they say that you have to have the procreative and the unitive, choosing to not have sex during your fertile time or whatever is actually choosing to not procreate, and it's non-procreative, and you're hurting your relationship, and you know, or potentially hurting your relationship depending on how, you know, strong you are or whatever. But
well, I would say 2 things. Number one, yes, I agree with you, like, you know, with the whole wet dreams and all that, but I think also biologically, sperm can and does come out prior to ejaculation. I don't know how frequently that is and how you measure that, but some does and can come out. You can get pregnant even. I mean, I think that's probably how pulling out still has a reasonable, you know,
some
not a great success rate, because I think some of it comes out before quote unquote the orgasm itself.
And sometimes it takes iron will probably to pull it off.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, I'm sure. I'm guessing what really happens is they don't pull out quite quickly enough, whatever. But, but I don't know. I can say
just a guess.
I can honestly say I have no experience with that.
Oh, yeah, Craig even has a tough time pulling out of a parking spot.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, I've had toddlers try and interrupt things, but I don't think that's ever, certainly not on purpose. But here's the, you know, getting to what you talk about, like they say, well, not acting is not the same as acting. So like not having sex, abstaining is different than engaging in an act.
It feels like it to me, so I agree with him on that.
Yeah. But you know, and they always use that critical distinction, but you know, so like a couple of weeks ago we did an episode on this. I was up at a different church for the confirmation, and I was outside with the same 1-year-old that's with me right now, and I was walking with her outside, and there was another dad with a little girl who was running around, and that little girl took off from her dad and headed straight for the street, and the dad was not going to catch her. Ooh. And I got in front of her and I kind of grabbed her to keep her from going in the street. So under their logic, if I had pushed her into the street, that would be sort of a different act than me seeing full well she's going to walk, she's going to go right into the street, she's going to get hit by a car. But if I do nothing, that's a morally okay act. In my mind, it doesn't matter whether I pushed her in the street or I knowingly let this little girl go in the street. I would feel morally culpable for that.
Still acting.
Yeah.
It's still an action.
Yeah, it's a choice not to act.
Action is an action.
Yeah, or at least
then it is.
There's a more, I mean, I would feel absolutely morally responsible for her.
Yeah.
So that's the problem yes, again, with so many of these things, yes, these are distinctions, but then they just assume that the distinctions support a distinction in how we evaluate these things. Well, I showed you the distinction, therefore it must be what I say is true. Well, it doesn't necessarily follow that one is morally okay and one is morally not okay. Maybe they're both morally okay, or both are morally not okay. I don't know. The fact that there's a distinction between action and non-action is not the end of the story. And I think they just jump to the conclusion that it, you know, so my little one is trying to grab my headphones here. I think she's almost done here, but we'll finish up.
The man has to orgasm and ejaculate within the woman.
What if he can't?
That is not necessarily.
Like, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some medical condition somewhere where somebody can't, you know, are they just not allowed?
I think, well, I think they would say if they know it's a problem, like if you're not intending that, right? And it just happens, it's one thing. If you go into knowing that's going to happen, I think they would say that's wrong. Or it's wrong for the wife to orgasm if the husband doesn't. Like, that's when you really get into the weeds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Case for the woman, because that process is separate from her procreative process. So it is possible for the woman to orgasm prior to penetration, during penetration, or after penetration, or all three above. Of those.
Yeah.
Read her mind.
Because women can have multiple orgasms.
Yeah.
That's a question for another time. But I think what that priest is trying to do is like, oh, it would somehow be selfish for the woman to want to receive an orgasm like prior to penetration. But then I like, if that's the case, then I would kind of argue that like, oh, well, if the couple knows that the woman doesn't typically orgasm during intercourse, then it would be selfish of the man to say that intercourse has to happen first and then the woman can finish. So
just the way she said that, selfish of the man. There's some sort of subliminal message there. Right? Man, I felt that.
Jonas said it, not me.
All right.
Because the camera's not on, you can't tell whether I agree or disagree with that.
Kind of like I'd flip that script back. I think what each couple needs to do is kind of figure out what works for them.
So the solution here is nobody ever has orgasm. That way no one is
Well, the man has to.
Well, I guess we all live celibate. Yeah, I guess.
Well, that's true. I mean, I guess
you only have to do it once, consummate your marriage, and then just stay away from each other. No selfish.
Just to avoid any selfishness.
Yep,
you're right.
Yep, that's the safest.
Yes. Carol Wojtyła in Love and Responsibility did say that there is a certain benefit to simultaneous orgasm. And I would absolutely agree that there is a benefit to simultaneous orgasm. It is not necessary, and it's not even something that like you are required to aim for. I would really encourage you to, and I'd encourage you to continue trying to aim for that, or any couple trying to aim for simultaneous orgasm during intercourse.
I agree with her. Yeah.
But it's not something that a couple like has to try to get to.
Follow a rigorous set of rules.
Okay. I've been going really all over the place on this question, but I think I've kind of answered it.
So, I mean, what's so weird is I really don't disagree with most of what she said.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But there's just this strange irony in her sort of giving a hard time to this priest for quote unquote mental gymnastics, when I just see a lot of it with the position that she seems to take. At least it seems to me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I agree, and I don't know why the priest would say that, to be honest. Like, I wonder where he got that idea.
Well, Christopher West. I mean,
oh, really?
Well, so
I think he's promoting that too.
Well, so I think you alluded to this at the beginning, but and so I went on and I commented. I said in his podcast today.
Oh, all right.
Christopher West seemed to contend that the female orgasm is intertwined with procreation because it can assist the female body and drawing the sperm up inside where conception occurs.
Yeah, we're on the same page too.
Yes. Does this support the distinction the priest in question is making?
Oh, what'd she say?
And I went on to say, I said, absolutely baffles my mind that these critical questions affecting Catholic married couples do not seem to have a clear and uniform response by the church.
Fair statement.
So,
it's long.
so she had a lengthy. So
That's what she said.
Yeah. Oh, good. Ka-ching.
Yeah.
She says the research doesn't support that across the board. There is some research that says orgasm can help with the conception, and some research that says it doesn't help. It's a difficult thing to research in an ethical way, so it actually makes sense that we don't have answers.
Oh, I don't know about that. Somebody help sometimes. Yeah. Like 70% of the time it works every time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just it feels like she doesn't
like that.
Doesn't want that response. Yeah. And
which
she says the body is still a mystery, and we as humans, as an image of God, it actually makes a lot of sense that we don't understand everything about our body because we can never understand everything about God. Okay. Philosophizing in this way is part of being human and part of the journey toward God. We'll never have all the answers, but we have more answers than we did in 1930 when castii conuubi came out, which, yeah, okay. And we can thank God for that. But if we frustrate our journey towards God with an insistence on having all the answers, we're going to have a very hard time getting closer to him.
Yeah, the tables have turned.
Yes. Yeah.
Not the answer that I expected based on some of our other conversations. I mean, the science also, we've advanced a lot in semen science since then too. You know, what actually happens to sperm, how long they survive. You know, I mean, you could easily say the same thing about sperm and ejaculation.
I agree. Well, listen, you're going to like these next couple of paragraphs, all right? She says, sometimes we have to admit that orgasm is a mystery we don't fully understand, and we may never understand. What Christopher West was ultimately trying to get us that there is some merit to simultaneously experiencing orgasm. That's not what he said.
But I agree.
But she says, but it's also not a necessity. It's not a necessity in a full sexual act. What exactly that merit is, we don't yet fully understand. And that's kind of exciting because it means we can continue to learn and pray and ask God for guidance. Some of the greatest saints, listen to this, some of the greatest saints came out of times when there was not clarity on big issues. Things like the iconoclast heresy, the schism, etc. I wholeheartedly agree with something Christopher West says a lot, that this period of time in our church will build some incredible saints.
Well, we need clarity on this stuff. I mean, there's nothing more important or just nothing more difficult either as far as these sorts of teachings.
Or at
least if their teachings are just opinions. I don't know. Like, that's the real question, is what is a teaching and what is an opinion by some person, you know, that is, you know, valid, and they're a saint, and you know, they have their right to their opinion.
Yeah. I think her comment on not focusing on having all the answers, I believe was intended to be a dig on me for constantly persisting in asking questions about what the rules do and don't say. And because I'm, you know, like, as if I'm trying to find out what the rules are so I can find a way around them, I think is the image that she has in her mind for me and probably for a lot of guys. And I'm not going to say that's not partially true, but really,
you know,
I just see, you know, like this couple in there. What if they listen to the priest? And what if the priest says you can only orgasm during the act itself, not before or after, and you can't? What if they follow that? I mean, some women may never have an orgasm,
and that'd be needless. It'd be needless harm to their marriage, perhaps.
I mean,
you know,
these rules or people's views of the rules could have extremely significant impacts on marriages, for better or for worse.
Their life,
and their kids and everyone.
It's just like Back to the Future. It's not just about your kids.
Yes. That's what motivates me.
Mhm.
So
It's true, man. This is huge.
that's what she said.
Yes. Oh,
But I mentioned this to you earlier when we were texting, but I said, this weekend I was around the table with my wife and daughter, and they were giving me a hard time because I have a banjo that my wife got me for Christmas one year because I want to learn to play the banjo. And she's like, "Well, you haven't learned to play the banjo." And I'm like, "Oh, I just got a lot of other stuff in my life right now." It's just like, well, like a podcast. I'm like, yeah, the podcast is actually more important to me than learning to play the banjo. And it is. This is why.
that's it. Yeah.
Like people's
Man.
happiness or lack of happiness or whatever is
Hangs in the balance.
hangs in the
Right
balance
here.
in-
Based on things that people say, whether in, a spirit of charity
Yeah.
or just conservatism or just trying to guide them in the right direction, doing the best they can.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But it's huge.
Mhm.
It's huge. It affects everything.
Yeah. That's why we're here. That's why we continue to probe these things, and I continue.
Bring up other people's videos.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just as you can tell, we are very animated about this, and we actually have okay, my daughter's getting really noisy here, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. But anyway, there's gonna be a number of episodes that we have coming out that are gonna kind of deal with these topics because they're just, oh man, they're important and timely, and just there's too many people out there affected by these and not enough people motivated.
Asking questions.
Yeah.
Even. Like,
Yep.
I agree, man.
Yep.
All right.
Well, thank you, Jonah.
You bet.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.